Nights after nights of explosions once again put Crimea at the center of the Russia-Ukraine war. Russian authorities say Ukrainian drone attacks killed civilians in annexed Crimea in southern Russia, while another strike set fire to a major Wildberries warehouse deep inside Russian territory. But these attacks are about much more than a single night of violence. They are part of Ukraine's intensifying effort to send a message, isolating Crimea, the Black Sea Peninsula that Vladimir Putin seized in 2014 and later used as a launchpad for a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In annexed Crimea, Russian-installed Governor Sergei Aksyonov said that 4 people were killed and 2 others were wounded in an overnight Ukrainian strike. Farther north, in Russia's Krasnodar region, authorities said falling drone debris killed 4 people, including a child, in the coastal village of Akipo-Osipovka. Another 10 people were injured. And the strikes did not stop there. In the Vladimir region, east of Moscow, online retail giant Wildberries evacuated staff after Ukrainian drones targeted one of its logistics warehouses. What makes the Wildberries attack a major one, as Ukraine has been hitting the company's logistics hubs almost daily since mid-July. Kyiv accuses Wildberries of supplying the Russian military with drone parts and other equipment, a charge the company denies. Meanwhile, Ukrainian commanders say the campaign is much broader. Kyiv, meanwhile, is targeting vessels linked to Russia's shadow fleet in the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea, as well as energy facilities supplying the Russian military. Ukraine's unmanned systems commander Robert Majar-Brovdy claims 196 Russian ships and more than 100 energy facilities have been reportedly hit in the past month. The effect is increasingly visible in Crimea itself. Russian authorities have declared emergency measures in parts of the peninsula after repeated disruptions to electricity, water supplies, internet, and mobile networks. Fuel shortages have become so severe that fuel coupons issued in May reportedly ran out within 24 hours. To understand why Crimea remains the war's most symbolic battleground, let's go back to more than a decade when pro-EU protests in Kyiv toppled Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych in 2014. Masked gunmen seized government buildings across Crimea. Russia organized what it called a referendum on joining the Russian Federation, a vote denounced by Ukraine. That annexation became a turning point in Vladimir Putin's rule, triggering sanctions, a breakdown in relations with the West. In 2018, Putin was seen personally driving a truck across the newly opened Crimean bridge, sending a very clear message to Ukraine. 2022 is the beginning of the wider war in eastern Ukraine. Crimea was not just annexed by Russia, it became a launchpad for the 2022 invasion. Russian troops, missiles and equipment were massed on the peninsula before the assault began. And since then, Ukraine has repeatedly targeted military sites, energy facilities and supply routes there. Russia continues to bombard Ukrainian cities, while Ukraine has responded with long-range attacks. More than 1 million people have been killed or wounded since the full-scale invasion began, and despite intermittent US-mediated talks, Russia and Ukraine remain deeply divided over territory and security guarantees. The latest drone strikes show that Crimea is no longer just a disputed peninsula. It is the centerpiece of Ukraine's strategy to cut Russia's southern lifeline and the place where symbolism, logistics and military power collide. For Moscow, Crimea is the crown jewel of Putin's geopolitical project, home to its Black Sea fleet, hub for key operations in southern Ukraine. For Kyiv, it remains occupied territory that must be isolated, weakened, and ultimately reclaimed. And as drones now strike from the Black Sea to the outskirts of Moscow, the battle for Crimea is increasingly becoming the battle for the future shape of this war.